The Substance. This film is probably one of the most surprising films of the year and probably one of the most unique and original. So let's talk about it. What's up everyone, welcome back to another video here on the channel Royal Horror. My name is Thiago and thank you so much for clicking on this video, for wanting to spend some time with me talking about movies, talking about horror movies. I really appreciate it. And as you saw by the title, what we're going to do today is we're going to be talking about The Substance from 2024, directed by the French director Caroline Farcret. Again, I hope I pronounced her name correctly. And you might know her from a previous little film called Revenge. I believe it's a Shudder original. So I haven't watched that film, but after watching The Substance, I really want to watch Revenge to see how it goes. That was her directorial debut, so I want to see how much she has changed over the last couple of years. Now, before we start kicking off this review, first of all, I want to say that this is going to be completely spoiler-free because this film just came out. However, I had the opportunity to watch this film like a week ago, thanks to my the brand of cinemas that I use, which is called Odeon Cinemas. This video is not sponsored by any means, but they do this event called Scream Unseen, which is basically you book your ticket, you go to the cinema, but you don't know which movie you're about to watch, which horror movie you're about to watch. It's usually a new release, but sometimes they do like older films, like re-released at the cinemas. So, and they give you a few clues beforehand, so you try to figure out which one it was. I honestly knew it was going to be The Substance because it was the newest horror at that time. So the structure of this review is basically going to be my positive things, negative things, and my overall thoughts and how do I feel about this film, and if I recommend it, and all of that. So this video is going to be very brief. It's going to be very short, let's say, because I want to talk as briefly as possible without spoilers, because I think this film deserves your full attention. So The Substance, as I said before, is directed, is written, and is edited by the French director Caroline Farcret. Now, as I said before, you might know her from Revenge and all of that, but the cinematographer of this film is someone called Benjamin Krakun. Again, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And you might know him from being a cinematographer from a previous horror film called Promising Young Women. I haven't watched that film yet, but again, after watching The Substance, I'm really intrigued on how that film looks. So this film is starting two huge female actresses, and the first one is Demi Moore. And again, if I start talking about all of the films that she's been to, I will be talking here forever. But like one of the previous films that I had rewatched before watching The Substance, it was Charlie Agent, so it was surprising to see her in a horror film. And the other actress will be Margaret Qualley. Now, this actress, I don't know that much about her, but I know she was in this huge film last year, which was called Sanctuary. But her filmography is very popular. Like, she's been in really huge Hollywood films, so I cannot wait to see what else she has done before The Substance. Now, I guess spoiler-free wise, I first want to talk about negative stuff because I want to take that out of the way. Now, again, beforehand, I just want to say that personally, I enjoyed the film, I liked the film, but I'm not obsessed with it. I gave this film 3 stars out of 5, but I completely understand why people are loving this film. I absolutely understand why people are obsessed with this film. Some people are calling it the best horror of the year. Some people are calling it like one of the best body horror or horror for the last few decades, and I understand why. I'm not critiquing that because I do believe this movie is deserving everything that it's getting. But in my personal taste, I enjoy it, I just didn't love it, or I'm just not obsessed with it, which is surprising because I thought I was gonna be. But either way, I have a lot of positive stuff to say about this film. So the first thing that I want to say, the negative wise, is I think this movie is a bit too long. This movie is almost 3 hours, it's 2 hours 30 minutes, and you feel the length of this film. I think this movie could have used so much editing because I feel like in the middle act the same stuff is happening, the whole interaction between the two female characters is constantly happening, and I think none of the few scenes where the two of them are interacting gets better. All of them are looking the same. Obviously I don't want to talk with the spoilers because I will spoil what the interaction is, but if you watch the film you will understand what I mean, because when they come across each other It's the same stuff, like one does one thing, then progresses, and then the other one does the other thing, and we spend like a lot of time with that. Now, another thing that I have to critique is one of the characters. He's supposed to be like this creepy guy and this disturbing guy, but I don't think that's explored enough. But yes, like he's not explored enough. I wish we spent more time with him being this creepy guy, this disturbing guy, because I think it will have added so many layers to the film. Although he has a lot of creepy lines, some of his dialogue is very, very cringy in a good way, But overall, I don't think the movie gives him enough space to be that disturbing villain, because even though he's not the main villain of the film, he's still a pretty like fed up guy. Like he's pretty much a disturbing guy, pretty much a villain for this movie. Now, another critique that I have to give, and this is surprising because this movie is 18+, like this is R rating. So like they could have used so much gore, so much violence, kills, and this movie could have done it, because the synopsis of this film is really, really disturbing and creepy. But I don't think the movie uses enough violence or enough gore for this kind of movie. And I'm not saying that a film has to use gore or violence to be good. No, I'm not saying that. But because this movie is a body horror, this movie is all about the body, it's all about the skin, muscles. They could have done so much more. They could have been gorier, and they had the budget to be gorier. They could have been more violent, especially between the two girls, or in society in general. I wish, for example, we saw this whole substance being deeper, being more sinister, being like gorier, with more violence. I think they could have done that so well. Or like the after effects, the consequences, I wish they were more sinister, again gorier, with more violence, so you could have felt more affected by what was happening to those two women. And again, another critique that I have to give, and this might go in like my critiques and my positive stuff, and that critique will be the last few 20-30 minutes. I feel like we spent so much time to go to that huge finale, and even though people might say that it makes sense because obviously you want to have this huge shocking reveal, I understand that. But again, we go back to my previous point, because the movie was not enough violent, or because there was not enough gore. When we have that finale, it takes you out of the film, because before that finale came, you didn't experience similar stuff. So when that finale comes, you are like, oh, okay, and then the movie ends. You know, like the movie is not constantly with its violence or with its gore. So when that finale comes, I was a bit overwhelmed, because I was like, I wish we had similar stuff before that. And I think my last critique that I have to give to this movie is the editing. I think the editing is not the strongest part, and it might make sense because the director wrote it, directed it. So maybe like I understand why she wanted to be the editor, but maybe because she was so concentrated in directing, which by the way, this movie, we will talk about it in the positive stuff, this movie is hugely well directed, but editing wise, it's not its best stuff that it's going for. I think this movie could have used much better editing, because so many scenes is taking place in place A, and out of nowhere we're in place B. A lot of scenes are happening so quick, like one after the other, like a collage. And because of the editing, you don't really have time to breathe and understand what each scene is telling you for the storyline. So the editing could have used a much better work, and especially because this movie is long. So when a long movie doesn't have a strong editing, you feel it and you see it, and maybe it takes you out of the storyline, like it happened for me. Now, leaving the negativity behind out of this video, let's talk about the positive stuff, because this movie has a lot of good things to go for. And the main thing that I absolutely love about this movie is the social commentary against aging, or like the Hollywood social commentary about how older women, how older men, but especially older women, how they're like just like thrown into the trash just because they're older. That social commentary was insane. I absolutely love that, because it's not a secret that in the society that we live in, which I wish we didn't, aging is considered like a failure, especially if you're an actress, especially if you're in that industry, or if you're a model. Like if you are, and the movie has a dialogue that says, but when you're 50, people stop caring about you. That's huge, and we see that with so many artists out there, that even though they are huge, just because they're older, people make fun of them, people say that they don't work anymore, and all of that. And we've seen that, for example, with like Madonna, which is a huge, probably the biggest musician of all time, and she's 65, and the critiques that she gets non-stop just because she's 65 and she's still doing stuff, and because her skin looks the way a 65 years old woman's skin should look like, she gets a lot of critiques. So I absolutely love what The Substance did with that. The way the movie was critiquing the way society portrays, or the way society thinks about older women in these kind of industries, I think that was phenomenal. Another positive thing that I have to say about this movie is the acting. I think the acting was incredible, especially from our two main girls. That like their acting was incredible. Like you could really feel they were the same person but in different like kind of scenarios, if that makes sense. The acting, especially from Demi, like the main woman, like our protagonist, it was insane because she had to communicate how frustrated she was feeling because how society was treating her just because she was older. And like a lot of breakdowns that she has in the film are amazing. Like she has one specific scene where she has a lot of makeup because I think she's gonna go out on a date, and she's taking all of that makeup with her gloves because she's so frustrated because she doesn't feel like she looks hot enough. And that scene was incredible. Like her acting was phenomenal, and you can tell that she was in so much pain because her skin was so red. So props for that actress, because carrying this film must have not been easy, and I absolutely love what they did with her. And also with the other girl, like the younger version of her, she was incredible. Like her facial expressions and the way she was moving and her dancing, and also how badass she becomes, let's say, or what a bitch she becomes as the movie progresses. Again, that was phenomenal. And also the whole interaction when they had to be a dead body, let's say, because again I don't want to give spoilers. Again, the body communication, the body language from both women was amazing. Like I was genuinely disturbed when those two main girls, they had to be on the floor fully naked. That was really, like, I don't want to say scary, but that was uncomfortable to watch, and that was really disturbing. And it's all thanks to the body language from the two main actresses, and that's proper acting. Like I absolutely loved what they did with the two main women. Another positive aspect that I have to give is another social commentary when it comes to like the black market or the easy access to drugs, to medicine that is happening nowadays in today's society. Because it's not a secret that with how strong technology is, with how strong, how easy it is for someone to get access to anything, a lot of like bad stuff can happen because of that. And I think The Substance communicates that so well, especially with the black market, because it's not a secret that nowadays anyone could get access easily to bad stuff to change their bodies. And maybe it was also social commentary with Botox, because it's not a secret that Botox, if it's not done correctly, it can really ruin your whole life. And that's something that has been happening for the last few decades, where someone that doesn't have enough income wants to get a Botox, and that person just goes anywhere in the city, again like in The Substance, to the ugliest place, to the most sinister place, and they get this medicine, this injection, and they use it. I'm talking about Botox, but The Substance portrayed that so well. And I think the social commentary was amazing, and hopefully because of this film people can have more an open mind, like a wake-up call on that you shouldn't do that. Like if you want to have Botox, make sure you go to like the best place ever. Or again, like for example with tattoos, if you want to get a tattoo, make sure you go to the best place, because if you do it like underground, like somewhere sinister that you don't know much about it, it can really like ruin your whole body. And I think The Substance communicated that message so well. That brings me to the point of that I absolutely loved the soundtrack and the score, it was incredible. I want to download the soundtrack in this film. And the score was amazing, and also the sound design, I think that also was amazing, especially when we're treating blood and all of that. The sound design is absolutely phenomenal, especially because it works for this film. And that brings me to the next point, which is I love that this movie felt like a dystopian kind of feeling. Like, we don't know what kind of year this movie is taking place, and everything feels so dystopian. And I love that because I love a good dystopian TV series like Black Mirror, or like the dystopian kind of movies. So because I think the dystopian kind of films or series, they work so well for social commentaries, and I think The Substance is the perfect example for that. And maybe the last positive aspect that I have to give about this film, even though I critiqued that in my first part of this video, I think another thing that I have to preach for this film is the body horror and the gore, because even though they didn't do it that much, what they did was amazing and it looked amazing, especially because the movie is not afraid to show you what's inside the body. The movie is not scared to show you what happens when you cut the skin, when you open the skin, or when something is wrong with your body because of something that you order from the black market. And that was incredible, and this movie is not scared to do that. And I think the makeup was amazing. I don't think they used CGI, obviously probably they did when opening the bodies and all of that, but it looked insane. I think the blood looked amazing, so huge props for that. And the makeup overall from everyone, from the two main girls, and also the cinematography is amazing. This movie, the way that it's shot is beautiful, and also the lighting, especially because of the sound design, especially because they all work together. Because obviously the way the camera is moving, it makes you feel so tense, because the movie usually has a lot of close-up shots to the faces, but with a wild screen. So you have this deformed kind of feeling where the scene is happening, but it's kind of deformed because the main focus is the face, so the background is deformed, if that makes sense. Or we have a lot of close-up shots to the mouth, to the eyes, so everything looks a bit deformed, which it makes sense because in this film that kind of shots made a lot of sense. So huge props for the cinematographer, because he knew how to communicate body horror throughout the camera lenses. Overall, I like this film, I enjoyed this film. Will I rewatch it? Maybe, but I'm not hurrying to watch that film again. But my first time watch was really good. I really liked the film. I wish I loved it. I wish I was obsessed with it, but I just didn't feel that disturbed as other people felt, and I wish I did. But maybe on a rewatch, maybe I will feel it. But for now, I absolutely recommend watching this movie, especially on the big screen, because that's the place where you need to watch these kind of movies for the first time. And also to support cinemas, because I will always say, yes, go and watch it. Obviously, it's on your own decision. But in my opinion, cinemas is the best place to watch these kind of movies. And I would love to know how are you feeling about this. This movie is doing really well on Letterboxd. It has over 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and on IMDb for now it's doing really well because it's having 8 out of 10, which is also a huge surprise, especially for an indie kind of film. For this is just the second film from a director, so I'm so glad that this movie is doing really well. And I would love to know how you're feeling about this. Please let me know in the comment section below. I would love to talk about The Substance. I really hope that you enjoyed this review. I will see you in the next review, in the next couple of videos. Please have a nice end of the day. We'll talk so soon. Bye bye.